Today we'll be getting into one of, if not our favorite resort on property, and that's Disney's Coronado Springs Resort. Hello and welcome to the Let's Go to Disney podcast. I'm Oliver.
And I'm Lucy.
Today is Sunday, May 4th, and may the force be with you, and you're listening to episode 86, Resort Spotlight, Disney's Coronado Spring Resort. Before we get into today's main topic, here's what's going on in the parks right now. Earlier this week, Disney announced that the opening date for the new adults-only lounge at Epcot, named Geo 82, is going to open its doors officially on June 4th. So this lounge is going to require advanced dining reservation, and those reservations are going to open on May 6th, which is today when this episode airs. They shared a look at some of the small bites and cocktails offerings that are going to be on the menu, and they also said that there's going to be a Geo 82 fireworks experience, which will be part of their Enchanting Extras collection. The experience will feature views of Luminous, the Symphony of Us, obviously the nighttime spectacular over at Epcot, from tables along the lounge's windows. And this is going to include a tasting of light bites, sweet treats, champagne poured tableside, and event-exclusive cocktails. This is going to be an eye-watering $179 per person.
Yikes, that's probably the most expensive thing, like food-wise, I've ever heard of.
Yeah, well, I mean, like all the dessert parties and stuff at Magic Kingdom are like the hundreds, but this is pretty steep for sure. And then all of the drink and food options that were teased are on the Disney Parks blog website if you want to take a closer look at those. They do look pretty tasty, so at least there's that. Disney Parks blog also shared a look at some of the cool kid summer offerings coming to the Walt Disney World Resort May 27th through September 1st. Some of the offerings you're going to see are dance parties, surprise character appearances, and hands-on activities. At Epcot, Communicore Hall is actually going to temporarily close starting on May 12th to make way for Goofy Core. So this is going to replace the current setup that they have there for Flower and Garden Festival, which is a little bit unfortunate because that's literally our first Epcot day. Like we get there on May 11th, it's Animal Kingdom and then Epcot. So that's going to be shut down. But that's okay because the current food offerings that are in the Farmer's Feast booth, which is like inside Communicore Hall, are just going to move to Florida Fresh for the time being while it's closed for the changeover. And then the changeover, essentially what they're doing is they're adding a DJ-led dance party and games like Loopy Limbo and Parachutes and Pipsqueaks. Not sure what that is, but it sounds fun. And then over at Animal Kingdom at Rafiki's Planet Watch, there's going to be a hands-on craft activity about pollinators like bees and butterflies. And there's also going to be a new Wilderness Explorer badge and a celebration sing-along at Discovery Island with a Dino Institute intern.
Animation Courtyard at Hollywood Studios will have performances from magicians, jump rope athletes, and special character appearances. And then over at Storybook Circus at Magic Kingdom, this is going to get a dance party hosted by DJ Ringmaster at Big Top. It'll feature stilt walkers and jugglers and silliness from Pluto and the other characters. Rocket Tower Plaza in Tomorrowland will have a Stitch DJ dance party. That's going to be popular, I'm sure.
Yeah, 100% Stitch is like all the rage right now.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. And then over at Merchant of Venus, you're going to be able to make an Elio-themed craft for their upcoming Pixar film. In Universal Orlando news, earlier this week, Universal opened sales for preview tickets for the general public. Preview tickets are available from now until May 19th, but dates are booking up and time is short. So if you're wanting to get in on this, now is the time. As you know, we're going to be in Orlando next week, and we came this close. Fingers are literally super close together right now,
close,
if you can imagine it, to booking preview tickets. But honestly, we would have had to make it our rest day, and we didn't want to mess with the kids' pool and relax day. They really look forward to spending time in the pool. Yeah, so this would have just been really busy. Honestly, we know that we're going to be back for our Universal-only trip in November, so we held off. It was hard, but we did it. Yeah. And I think it's going to be all the more special in November because we're not going to be rushed through it in a one-day shot. No, exactly. Yeah. And, everything's going to be open and operational, and they should have worked out the kinks by then. And how many days do we have in Universal? 4. So we're going to have lots of time to just spread it out. So we're going to have a solid 2 days at Epic and then a solid 2 days in, Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios Florida. Yeah, no, it's going to be good. And in food news, the Gideon's cookie for this month is the Coffee Toffee chocolate chip cookie. I'm not a big fan of the Gideon's cookies, but this one does sound good. I love coffee. I love toffee. I love chocolate chips. So that one, I think I would try if you go and get it.
And I would try some of yours. Yeah, that sounds amazing. And, we have dinner in Disney Springs on our first park day, and we're going to Raglan Road. So we're going to make a stop at Gideon's.
Right across the way. Exactly. So I'm sure I will try yours.
Yeah, exactly. And then for us, we're in the home stretch before our trip, right? So today is Sunday and we leave in less than a week, bright and early next Saturday. We've got a really early flight and a quick stop in Calgary before making our way to Orlando. And we're going to be landing just after 5 p.m. local time. And it's straight to Caribbean Beach Resort from there.
Yeah, I literally cannot wait. I was just saying that I really hope this week just flies by because I am ready for our trip.
And it will. Like it's
almost going to fly by too fast because we're so busy and we have things to do and we have to pack. Yeah. But we'll get it all done as we always do.
Yeah, exactly.
The kids are so excited. This is going to be a great trip for all of us. And on that note, yesterday morning was our 7-day window. So we were up at 4:45 a.m. our time since we are 2 hours behind. We were ready to go right when that clock struck 5. We got absolutely everything we wanted and we got really, really good return times too. So we're really happy about that. The only one I didn't like, I think, was Tower of Terror. I refreshed or modified. I got a really great return time.
For sure. And like Animal Kingdom, we've said before, we don't always get multi-pass, but
with the kids.
Yeah, with the kids, we don't want to have to wait in line at all if we can prevent it.
And we want to be able to ride certain things more than once.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And we knew that maybe we'd want to park hop on that day. And if we do, we want to be able to book lightning lanes wherever we hop.
Yeah, and we're the type of family, we like to go hard in the morning, take it easy in the afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. But one thing that we did get a couple times, and that's happened to us. Like, so this is our third trip going since this new lightning lane multi-pass system where you pre-book lightning lanes is in play. And it happened again this morning. We get this error message. What does it say again? It's like, basically it's saying like it didn't go through, right? The transaction didn't go through.
Something failed. So, a word and then failed.
Yeah.
Transaction failed. I can't remember.
Yeah, I forget. We should have noted it down, but essentially it's not going through. And then when you essentially X out of that, it boots you way back out to the start. Like it doesn't, you can't like try the transaction again. No. Yeah. You have to go back out, make your selections again. And it's a bit of a pain. Thankfully, I think that happened 3 times and we were able to get pretty much the exact same times, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure
like
it was the exact same time. So it's almost like it's remembering. I don't know. It's a very weird thing. It's almost like it was playing a trick on you, but still keeping your spot. I don't know.
It sounds weird us saying this, but literally like it's happened every single time we've tried to book with these advanced lightning lanes. So anyways, long story short, didn't cause us any problems. We still got everything we wanted. It's just a hiccup that,
it's annoying.
I don't know if it's a widespread issue either. So if you're having this problem, send us a message. I'm curious to know, who out there is having this happen to them as well.
Yeah, like I said, thankfully we got everything we wanted at the exact same times we wanted. So all in all, it's okay. But yes, I completely agree with you. In those moments, it's very stressful when that little pop-up comes up and you're like, what do you mean it didn't go through?
Yeah, exactly. Now, with that said, let's get into today's main topic. So today we're going to be starting a new episode series where we're going to be highlighting the resorts on property. So we won't make these in back-to-back weeks because we'd have like 6 months worth of episodes, right, with that alone. And we'd like to switch it up, right? But the goal is to highlight every resort over time. And we figured Coronado Springs would be, the perfect place to start because we've stayed there several times and we do love it so much and we wouldn't hesitate to stay there again and again.
So what makes Coronado stand out for us is that it feels more intimate than a modern resort like Caribbean Beach. Caribbean Beach, for example, is super spread out and kind of wide open in the sense that there's not too many trees that surround the space. And then when you're on the Skyliner, you're literally flying right over the whole thing.
The whole thing. Yeah, you can literally see everything.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. You're close to all the action and you're also just kind of in the middle of it. Whereas Coronado is a little bit more secluded in the sense that the space is in a clearing and there's trees all around it. But its physical location on property is still one of the best in our opinion. And we're going to get into why in just a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And it's important to note that, it's a larger resort for sure. So it's a bit spread out as well, but it doesn't feel as spread out as resorts like Caribbean or, like Pop Century or Art of Animation. And I think the reason for that is that it's configured in kind of a nice circle, meaning like the buildings form a loose loop around the lake at the resort, which is called Lago Dorado Lake. And in terms of theming, Coronado is not like in your face Disney, right? So it's not going to be as themed as some of the other resorts that have like very, Disney heavy theming. Having said that, don't make the mistake of thinking that it's not magical because it is, right? It's still very much a Disney resort with like all that entails, including that divine smell when you walk in the lobby.
Best smell ever.
And like, the ultra welcoming cast members that just want to make sure your arrival experience is as positive as possible. Like, it's Disney. So yeah.
Absolutely. So what exactly is the theming? Because every resort has an overarching theme and Coronado is no different. Disney describes this resort as a blend between Spanish, Mexican, and Southwest American cultures. The buildings have a light sandstone color and splashes of pastel colors like light blue, light red, and orange. They also have a lot of arches, similar to what you were going to find in spaces in Spain and Mexico. The resort is split into 9 areas, but a lot of these areas overlap.
Yeah, exactly. And the resort rooms are split into 4 areas, which are casitas, cabanas, ranchos, and then the Gran Destino Tower. So casitas is the closest set of rooms to the main lobby, which is located inside the Gran Destino Tower. And when you're facing the tower, these are going to be the rooms to the left of that. Casitas are connected to the main lobby by what the resort calls the dining area, which is a good characterization because
that's perfect,
it's like a series of hallways and there's literally a bunch of restaurants between the tower and casitas. Mm-hmm. And then you can literally walk from the tower to casitas indoors for the most part. And that area between the tower and casitas, like we said, right, that's where you're going to find like the vast majority of the dining offerings, including the largest quick service location on property, which is El Mercado de Coronado. But we'll get into that in a little bit.
Okay, so going clockwise on from there, at the back of the resort when facing the tower is ranchos. These rooms are the furthest from the main lobby. And then clockwise from there are the cabanas. And these are to the right of the tower when you're facing it. Some cabana rooms will be very close to the tower, and then on the other end, they're very close to the dig site, which is the flagship pool area for this resort. These are not connected to the tower, though, so you will have to walk outside to get to any of the cabana buildings from the main lobby. There's also a massive convention center at this resort, which will house some of the Destination D23 events this year, which is very exciting. This is a wing that jets out right between the tower and casitas. We've often walked by here on our way to the casitas from the towers, but we've never actually seen anything go into these spaces.
Always a ghost
town. It actually
town.
gives me The Shining
totally.
Vibes,
with
which
the
is
carpet. Just
minus scariness. But it's usually very deserted. You might see a cleaner in the corner. So I've said this every time we walk by. I feel like I'm in the movie The Shining when they first get to the resort and it's dead.
Totally. So like we said, these areas form like a loose kind of circle around the lake at the resort. It's a large resort for sure, right? Like we said, but it's far from the largest resort on property. The grounds are beautiful and we love just walking around that internal loop, right? That goes around the lake and walking across the bridges that cross the lake itself. It's a really beautiful resort overall. And like we said, it has really relaxed vibes. Like our go-to plans when we arrive is to check into our room if it's ready and head straight to 3 Bridges at Villa del Lago, which is literally located at the intersection of 3 bridges in the middle of the lake. Like that's exactly what it is. There's water, 3 bridges, the restaurant's in the middle. And this is an open air restaurant, one of our favorites, like anywhere on property. It doesn't matter if it's early or late. We're coming for some good food and a sangria flight on our arrival day.
Absolutely. Every single time. So in 2017, Disney announced a large update for this resort, including the Gran Destino Tower, an update to the guest rooms across property, which has touches similar to the other recent refurbs across property, like wooden floors, flat screen TVs, Keurig coffee machines, updated bathrooms, and color scheme. This is also when 3 Bridges was announced, and then everything started opening in the summer of 2019, not very long before the pandemic closures, actually. So initially, like all things, a lot of people were upset with the tower, saying that it kind of ruined the vibe and the aesthetic of the resort. But like all things, people adjusted. The tower is absolutely beautiful, and the resort is so much better off with that tower.
Agreed 100%. And on that note, let's talk about the tower quickly. So the outside of the tower looks really good. It has a sort of like cage looking accent. I don't know what you'd call it, but it's essentially, it kind of looks like a cage with like copper, not wiring, but like it's really
framing
hard to
almost. It's hard to describe
framing
it.
is probably a good word for it. And we're just not doing it justice, but that goes up the center of the tower and it's illuminated with like ambient lighting that changes colors depending on the season and the time of year. When you walk into the lobby on your left, you have an accent wall with a bunch of holes. And each of those holes have like a lantern inside that match the colors on the outside of the building and in the rest of the lobby. When you walk deeper in, you get a great view of the lower lobby. And down there, you have 4 large pillars in kind of cream colors with thousands of little tiles that are like really beautifully accent that space, right?
Absolutely.
The architecture and design, it definitely has like Spanish influence and elements. And it reminds us of the architecture we saw in Barcelona, right? We visited there in 2018 and that it gives us those vibes for sure. Absolutely. And then the back wall of the lobby where the check-in desks are have like beautiful mosaics that are backlit as well to go with the overall like the lighting theme. It's really, really nice. Super
At Christmas
nice.
time, it looked absolutely beautiful.
It was all red and green at Christmas, plus Christmas trees everywhere and like a massive
it was
tree.
Gorgeous.
Like the ceiling goes way up. Like it starts in the lower lobby. right? And then the Christmas tree like came
shoots
up to
right
the
up,
lobby.
like it's very
it's kind
high.
of hard to explain. But if you've been to Riviera, it's a similar thing in that you have the main floor and then a lower floor.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's hard to put into words, but if you're curious, we suggest doing a Google Images search because it really is a stunning lobby. We absolutely love it here. So when you walk down the stairs into the lower lobby, this is where you're going to find the Barcelona Lounge. The back wall here is illuminated as well to match the theming of the rest of the lobby. And then you have massive floor-to-ceiling windows that overlook the inside of the resort beyond. And we've talked about this before, but the lobbies of the Disney resorts always smell really good, and Coronado is no exception. Actually, we probably think that this is one of the best smelling lobbies of all the resorts. Again, that may sound weird, but it smells so good in there. And once you walk in, you'll know what we're talking about.
And if you've been to a Disney resort, you know exactly what we're talking about. If you haven't,
you'll know.
You'll know. Yeah, 100%. Coronado smells divine. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's talk rooms and room categories. So when you're booking at Coronado, you're actually going to have several booking categories, but there's a clear distinction between the tower rooms and the rest of the resort, which are called the village. These are going to be clearly marked when you go to book. It's either going to be village or tower, and then the name of the room category you're looking to book. For village rooms, these will be in casitas, cabanas, or ranchos. And then you have standard view rooms, standard water view, which will be lake view or pool view, one or the other, right? And then standard preferred rooms, which will be closer to dining and shopping. And most of these, right, are located in that space between casitas and the tower.
That's right.
You also have 1-bedroom suites and executive suites in the village, and all of these categories are also available with a king bed as well. The standard rooms sleep 4, the king bedroom sleeps 2, obviously, and then the 1-bedroom suite sleeps 6, and the executive suites sleep up to 8. Obviously, the water view and preferred locations are going to be a little bit more expensive, right? A little to a lot more expensive. And then the king bedrooms also are going to be a touch more expensive, but not usually very much, like $10, $20 a night. In that range. And then the rooms all have flat screen TVs, like we said earlier, coffee makers, and really nice, like updated bathrooms. They have hardwood floors and a kind of orange and red color palette with subtle Mickey touches hidden in the art and the curtains. The suites will have seating areas like, with like full-size couches, and the executive suite actually even has a dining room. Prices typically range in the low $300 range, and for standard view rooms, like well over $1,000 for the suites, like per night. It gets pretty steep.
Yeah. So for the tower rooms, you have standard rooms with either a resort view or a water view, which sleep 4. Both categories also have king bedrooms that sleep 2. Prices for the tower usually start in the low 400s and only go up from there during busier times. You also have the club standard rooms as well as deluxe suites, 1-bedroom suites, and the presidential suite. Something very unique about club access at this resort is that it's the only moderate resort on property to have club level rooms. The club here is named the Kronos Club. Like other clubs on property, it features snacks, drinks, cold and hot food options, and a bunch of seating space. The club is stunning, and we've never actually been inside. We've only seen photos, but the theming matches the rest of the tower, and it's absolutely gorgeous in there. We've heard nothing but great things about the offerings as well. It's quite pricey though. Club level standard rooms start in the low $700 range for the standard rooms, and all suites are a little to a lot over $1,000 per night. It's a tough sell for us, but maybe if you're doing a staycation, you could do a night or two. Although at those prices, we'd probably opt for a deluxe resort. 100%.
At that point. If I'm paying $700 to $100 a night, I'm just going to go to Poly. Yeah, 100%. And when we stay here, we usually stay in a tower room. We do. With a king bed. We've never actually stayed at the resort with the kids. We usually stay elsewhere with them, but we absolutely love the tower rooms. The beds, the floor, washrooms, they're very similar to the refresh that went into the village, but it's in the tower. So you actually have interior hallways, right? And it's not like, to the outdoors like it is at, Caribbean Beach and in casitas, ranchos, and cabanas and, like other resorts.
It has more of that hotel feel.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, totally. And those interior hallways have like really nice carpet with like hidden Mickeys in them. And actually the wallpaper on the walls inside the rooms are like mosaics with also hidden Mickeys in them, it's a fun touch. We love the clean look of the rooms. They feel modern and upscale with subtle Disney touches, but not overly Disney, but in a good way, right? They feel like they feel like deluxe resort rooms, to be honest. And honestly, the tower, like as a whole, gives that vibe that you're walking into a deluxe resort, right? The lobby actually reminds me, like I said earlier, of the Riviera Resort lobby. And I'd probably say it's actually even nicer in our opinion.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
All right, another area where this resort truly shines is dining. And not just because the dining that is located here is solid, but the sheer number of options you have for a moderate resort. When you are comparing this to other moderates like Caribbean Beach and Port Orleans Riverside and French Quarter, this has way, way more dining options. So let's talk about what you can find here all together. And we're going to start with our personal favorite that we touched on already. And this is the Three Bridges Bar and Grill at Villa del Lago. This, like we said, is located on the water at the intersection of the three bridges on the lake. It opened its doors in 2019 with the expansion, and what a great addition it was to the resort. It's an open-aired resort. It's all covered, but there are no exterior walls, so it gives you those great views of the water and the grounds all around.
Yeah, 100%. It's just so nice there. And, unlike other restaurants, it doesn't, you don't need advanced dining reservations. You just need to walk up and join the walk-up wait list. It's not usually overly busy, but sometimes the wait can get a little long around dinner time, in the evening, especially during busier times of year. Having said that, I don't think we've ever waited more than like 20 minutes or so for a table. So
I think that's true.
Yeah, it's not usually too bad. The menu features shareable bites that are like really delicious. We're partial to the white queso dip and the crispy chicken wings. And they also have entrees like the Three Bridges signature burger, pork canitas tacos, poke bowls, among many other options. They also have an accessible kids menu with options like quesadillas and hamburgers, so it's family friendly as well. They also have great sangria here, which is enough reason to go for just that, right? And you can get a sangria flight with 4 of the house sangria, and they're all really, really tasty. We usually have like a couple of shareable plates and either a flight or a pitcher of like one of the 4.
Every single time.
Yeah.
Next up, you have Toledo Tapas Steak and Seafood. This is a table service restaurant located on the top floor of the tower with sweeping views of the grounds, and you can even see fireworks from here as well. Coronado is actually not that far from Epcot and Hollywood Studios, so from the higher floors, you can see both parks. The restaurant is beautiful inside with a beautiful illuminated mosaic ceiling. It feels upscale but relaxed at the same time. The menu features tapas, steak, and seafood, as the name suggests. They also have great shareable plates, good cuts of steak, and several seafood options to choose from. The prices aren't cheap. It's definitely the most expensive location on property, but the menu, the views, and the space are really great and definitely worth checking out for sure. We should also mention that they have a great selection of beer, wine, and cocktails for the 21 and over crowd. And the restaurant does require advanced dining reservations.
Yeah, 100%. And right across the hall from Toledo, still on the top floor, you have the Dahlia Lounge. So this space has theming that it's really similar to Toledo, which is right next door. And, the tower, like theming close to the tower. Yeah, exactly. As a whole. This place is first come, first serve. No advanced dining reservations required. And the menu features a selection of tapas style light bites. So the menu is not super extensive, but what they do have is really, really good. So think like late night snack options after a long park day. They have a great selection of wine, beers, and cocktails. And of course, they've got sangria as well. They have patio seating as well, which is the perfect place to unwind with the beverage on a warm Orlando night. Just talking about that makes me want to go there.
Totally, yeah.
And it's not like we have to wait long, right? We're going to be there in literally like less than a week. And, we're super excited to stay at Caribbean Beach Resort because it's a great resort as well. But Coronado has our heart.
It does. I think eventually we will go there with the kids.
Yeah, we'll have to for sure. Yeah.
So anyways, moving on, back down at the ground level in the dining area between the tower and Casitas, you've got Rick's Sports Bar and Grill. This is exactly what it sounds like. The inside is actually very nice for a sports bar. The theming matches the rest of the resort, and it has a middle section with a really high ceiling and then opens up to the dining room nicely. The menu features really accessible options like burgers, sandwiches, and nachos. A popular menu item here is the Wachos, which are loaded waffle fries. It wouldn't be our first pick on resort, that's for sure, but it's really not hard to get a last-minute table here, and you're sure to find something for even the pickiest of eaters. You also have Cafe Rick's, which is a grab-and-go location open generally from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. They serve pastries, yogurts, coffee, sandwiches, and salads that you can always take to go.
Yeah, exactly. It is like a grab-and-go location.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And next up, and in the same space, in between the tower and Casitas, you've got Maya Grill. This is a Mexican restaurant with Mayan theming with like tile floors, large pillars, and pops of color. The space definitely doesn't feel as modern as some of the others we've mentioned so far, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's still like really nice in there. The menu features a lot of Mexican classics, and if you like Mexican fare, you're 100% going to be able to find something you'll enjoy here. It's a good restaurant, nothing to write home about though, and we certainly wouldn't go out of our way to eat here unless you're actually staying here, right? And even then, it wouldn't be our go-to while here.
Three Bridges wins every time for us.
No, exactly. Or Toledo or anyways. And if you are in the mood for Mexican food though, La Hacienda de San Angel over at Epcot and Frontera Cochina at Disney Springs are both better options for Mexican food in our opinion.
I will concur with that, yes. And then still in the same space, you've got El Mercado de Coronado. This is a massive quick service location with plenty of seating, and it features breakfast, lunch, and dinner options from early morning into the late evening. The space was refreshed in 2019, and it looks quite nice in here for a quick service location. There's pretty much anything you could want here, standard quick service, Tex-Mex options, salads, pasta, pastries, you name it. They even have Dole Whip here, and you can get it swirled with vanilla soft serve, so definitely a plus for them. This is another arrival day tradition for us. Dinner at Three Bridges, and then a Dole Whip swirl from El Mercado for dessert.
Yeah, 100%, every single time. And then in the lower lobby, which is just below the main lobby, like we were saying earlier, right, is the Barcelona Lounge. And, like we were saying earlier, it's fitting that it's called Barcelona Lounge because the space definitely could be somewhere in Spain and it would fit right in, right? They serve specialty coffees and breakfast items in the morning, and from mid-afternoon to late evening, it's light bites and cocktails. The best part about this place, though, is that they're going to put out those self-serve like drip coffee stations like super early, usually right around 6:30 in the morning. And we will almost always grab a coffee here because it's open right like early, and we always rope drop, right? We usually come in like right at 6:30. I can easily down a coffee like super quick and have a refill, and like I'll take that to the bus stop.
Yes, I usually just have my one because I cannot chug my coffee like Oliver can.
And I do. I drink my coffee scalding, and I know it's not good for me, but anyways.
And then lastly, there is also a couple of pool bars. The first is the Laguna Bar, which is a walk-up that overlooks the Lado Dorado Lake. They have a large selection of drinks and beverages, as well as some of the food options from Rick's Sports Bar and Grill that's just inside the doors near the Laguna Bar. Siesta's Cantina is right next to the dig site, which is that main pool area. It features some quick bites like burgers, sandwiches, salads, chicken tenders, and then a selection of drinks as well. It's definitely a good place to grab something quick and easy if you're going to be spending several hours at the pool. So it's pretty easy to see that there's literally a ton of dining options at Coronado and some really solid options here as well. Obviously, our personal favorites are Three Bridges and Toledo, and then, of course, the Dole Whip from El Mercado.
Yeah, I agreed 100%. All right, next up, let's talk pools and the other recreation options that are available on property. So we've alluded to it a couple times already, but the main pool area here is named the Dig Site, and the flagship pool is called the Lost City of Cibola. The main attraction of the pool is the large 50-foot Mayan pyramid, and it has a 123-foot long water slide running through it, which is like
very
awesome.
Cool.
And then right next to it is the largest hot tub on property that actually is big enough to hold up to 22 people at a time, which, it's massive. It's a really great pool area that your kids are really going to have a blast at, or yourself if you're so inclined, right? Aside from that, there are 3 other pools on property in each of the 3 villages. So again, that's Casitas, Cabanas, and Ranchos. And these are just going to be like standard pools, right? No slides or anything, but they are good if you're looking for a quiet dip or you just don't feel like walking all the way to the dig site if your room is a bit further away.
And then in terms of other recreation, just outside of the lower lobby at the back of the resort, there are some outdoor lawn games. You also have sand volleyball court, a playground, and an almost mile-long running/walking trail that loops around the Lago Dorado Lake around the resort. There's also an arcade not far from the dig site named the Iguana Arcade. And again, unique to this moderate resort is a fitness center because the other moderate and value resorts don't have these. There's actually 2 of them at this resort. One of them is the La Vida Health Club, which also features spa services, and then the standard gym inside of the Gran Destino Tower. There's also movies under the stars every evening and campfires as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then you also have a few paid experiences as well that are unique to the resort. So first up is the Colors of Coronado painting experience. This experience happens inside of Toledo during the daytime when it's closed, right? Side note, we didn't actually mention that earlier, but Toledo is typically only open for dinner, right? There's no like breakfast or lunch here. This is a 2-hour class taught by local artists, and you're going to follow along and paint a Disney-themed painting on an 11 by 14 canvas that you're going to get to take home with you. Colors of Coronado happens every Friday from 1 to 3 p.m. and the price is $40 per person plus tax.
You can also do the Spanish mosaic art experience where you will get to create your own Disney-themed art piece inspired by what you'd find in Barcelona. This is a 2-hour experience, and you get to take home your masterpiece, which will vary in size depending on the making, but Disney says it'll never be more than 12 by 12. You'll also get a travel container to keep it safe when you travel home. This happens at the Dahlia Lounge across from Toledo on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturday afternoons from 1 to 3 p.m.
Yeah, and that's $25 per person
there you go,
plus tax. Yeah. And then last but certainly not least is the Sangria University experience. And this experience is led by a knowledgeable cast member that works at Three Bridges, right? Cast members are going to go over the history of sangria and the recipes used to make the 4 house sangrias. The class wraps up with a tasting of the 4 sangria offerings and light bites. And the best part is that you get to try your hand at making your own sangria. This is a super fun experience. It lasts about 2 hours. And we actually did this back in 2022. Gray was our cast member that day, and he had also been our waiter before when we ate there on our first night, which was awesome. And it really was worth it for us. This happens on Saturdays and Sundays, and prices vary between $69 to $79 per person. You do obviously have to be 21 or older to participate, right? But you can take younger guests. They're just going to get a flight of non-alcoholic beverages. It's still going to be the same price though. So
not worth it.
Exactly. If that's worth it to you is going to be pretty subjective, but yeah, it's more of an adult experience.
Agreed. All right, next, let's talk transportation and location. So Coronado kind of gets a bit of a bad name when it comes to transportation because it only has bus transportation and it has multiple stops. And while both of these things are true, there's a couple of things to consider here. For one, the multiple stops is 4 total. So 1 at the Tower, then Casitas, Ranchos, and Cabanas. This is the same number of stops that Port Orleans Riverside has and less than Caribbean Beach Resort. So it's really not that bad. And we've never found it to be a hindrance in any way. The loop actually goes pretty fast.
Yeah, agreed. Yep.
And 2, the resort is actually super close to Hollywood Studios, Epcot, and Animal Kingdom. Disney classifies it as being in the Animal Kingdom area, but we're telling you, look it up on Google Maps or on the My Disney Experience app. The resort literally sits across World Drive from both Epcot and Hollywood Studios, and then right next to Animal Kingdom as well. It's literally right in the middle of the 3 parks. From the higher floors, you can see Hollywood Studios and Epcot and the Swan Reserve, which is literally right across the highway. In our experience, the bus ride to these 3 parks are super quick. The furthest park is Magic Kingdom, but that's relative. We're on Disney property, so from gate to gate, it's pretty much like 10 minutes, and then less than that for the other 3 parks.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's one thing that we really like about Coronado is it's so central.
It's really central. It's probably one of the most central.
Yeah, it's sneaky in that way, right? It's right in the middle of everything. So like we said, there are 4 bus stops, and they pick up in this order. So for the parks, the first stop is Casitas, then clockwise around the resort, right? So Rancho 2nd, Cabanas 3rd, and then the last stop is the Tower before departing for the parks. For Disney Springs, it starts at the Tower, then again clockwise, Casitas, Ranchos, and Cabanas before departing for the Springs. They also drop off in that order when you return from the parks or Disney Springs, right? What we'll often do is that we'll actually walk to Casitas from the Tower to be the first on the bus, but realistically, we're usually the first on the bus anyway, out like for the day, right?
Yeah.
And that bus never fills up, so we know it's not necessary, but we do it anyways. It's like a comfort thing, I guess.
It's just knowing we'd be first on.
Yeah, exactly. And then long story short, we've never had any issues whatsoever with the buses at Coronado, right? They always seem to come quickly. The loop doesn't seem to take long, and we know that puts some people off. But if you're on the fence, trust us, it's not nearly as bad as some people make it out to be. That's our take anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah. So with all of that said, let's wrap up with some pros and cons. And honestly, if it didn't come across so far in the episode, let's be clear. For us, the pros far outweigh the cons, and the cons really aren't that big of a deal. So pros are the resort feels deluxe at moderate prices. The lobby is absolutely stunning, and the resort really does have a ton of good dining options. It's centrally located on property, so it really doesn't take too long to get anywhere. Cons, you could say the resort is larger than some others on property, that's for sure. There is that internal bus loop that is a hard press for some, and it only has bus transportation. Again, you know our take on that, but we want to make that clear so that you can make an informed decision if this resort is right for you.
Yeah, exactly. And our thoughts are, we love this resort. It was the first Disney resort that we stayed at after the pandemic closures, right? And we did a split stay between Coronado and Swan Reserve, right? That was in April of 2022. We stayed at Coronado first, and that was our first day in the Tower, and we absolutely fell in love with it. We checked into the Swan Reserve after, and we were a little deflated, right? Because it just didn't seem to measure up to Coronado, and that's for us, right? Even being walking distance to Epcot and Hollywood Studios from Swan Reserve, right? We still preferred Coronado.
Swan Reserve is not a Disney proper property.
No, it's a Marriott property, right? So yeah, something to consider there as well. And like we said at the start, right? This is one of, if not our favorite resort on property, right? Like deluxe resorts included. And we wouldn't hesitate to recommend it to pretty much anyone. The theming isn't over the top, but like we said, great food, awesome pool area, and beautiful, really beautiful rooms. And if you're on an adult only trip, it may be the best resort on property for that. Like Lucy and I have really thoroughly enjoyed our stays here.
Absolutely. We really, really do love it here.
Yeah, agreed. With that said, thank you for joining us today to talk Coronado Springs. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And as always, if you could leave us a rating and review, it would be greatly appreciated. If you choose to do so, you can leave reviews right on Apple Podcasts. And for Spotify, you can leave a rating.
You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at letsgo.to-disney, as well as on our Facebook page, Let's Go to Disney. We share some helpful reels here as well as some fun ones. The link tree in the show notes will take you to all of our socials.
Have a great day, and we'll see you real soon.